obviously there was some kind of infrastructure thing
All right.
going on that wasn't normal. Yeah. So, but no, they were. I mean, they were servicing the loans. So a lot of people thought that since they were paying Countrywide, that's who was servicing the loan. But it was bundles of loans being sold in the secondary market on the golf course to a certain degree. So you had A paper, and then you had subprime, which is full spectrum, which is, I believe, what took them down. Full spectrum, whenever the market's going to crash a little bit, what you'll see is a lot of more creative loans to move the properties. Like,
Who else was doing it besides Countrywide?
I would like to say all of them, but I can't.
Oh. Wink, wink.
but with that being said,
what years are we talking about also?
Oh wow, 95, 96,
Okay,
97,
okay,
98, yeah.
all right.
That's when I was middle age.
We're talking 28?
It was come from my network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's go back to the Arizona market. So it must be it must be a crazy time. I mean, we're coming out of COVID. I mean, a lot of people say, oh no, we're already out of COVID, but let's be real. We are coming out of COVID. The market is just, there was a boom. Now it's kind of, you tell me, what's going on in the Arizona market? Let's tell the
Well, I
viewers.
have to fiduciary duty to watch what I say, but
No,
I'm just
real,
kidding.
no, the real thing, the
the
real, what's
market
going on
usually-
with the real market here? Like, what would be in the news? What's going on with the market?
I've been watching it for so long, right?
Yeah.
So there's a pattern. When you watch something for so long, you can start seeing a pattern, which is usually every 8 to 15 years, it has to reset. And what that means is that the market would come back. We just lowered the interest rates to 2%. So it was kind of like a land grab because a lot of people got those homes for $500,000 at 2%, which is only roughly $1,000 plus PITI, say $1,200-1,300 a month. Now those houses are being rented out, and the average rate is $3,500, so that's passive income of $2,500. So did the market really boom, or did they just make it more affordable for a higher priced house? That's the question. And then that's when you go to Greenspan and the index and the market and the stocks, and so that's where that gray area is at.
So is Maricopa County and Clark County being in Las Vegas, are they still the two most fastest growing counties in the US of A right now, in your opinion?
In my opinion, they would have to be.
Okay.
Because the property values are so high.
Okay,
So
okay.
it gets pushed.
All right. I mean, just knowing kind of those stats, that means people are still gravitating here, they want to be out here.
Oh yeah.
And Arizona's got, we've got these big chip factories being built.
Correct.
And we've got, do you feel like the Arizona economy is booming?
Yes, because a lot of people are tired of California, and a lot of people got rich in California, so they're actually not being affordable for Arizona residents.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's booming here too.
it's booming, but I have homes right now that are still on there. It's like 500,000 range. Kind
Tough
of
to know.
sluggish, a
Tough to
million,
know.
because people are coming in with money that they got home for, and say 150,000, and now it's worth 1.2. So are they dictating the market? I would think yes.
It's a cash deal.
Right. So now most Arizonians are moving to these other places, Payson,
Prescott.
yeah, and
Prescott.
then Prescott.
Prescott.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh.
My grandmother lived there. I used to go there all my life. We would go up there for the weekend. Hey kids, we're going to Prescott. We're going to see grandma.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say like Lake Havasu blew up as well.
Oh yeah, that
It's
area
just-
too. Parker and Lake Havasu. Yeah, I would think that whole area. Gosh. So what would you say are your three top? What would you say like for Arizona being in real estate? What would you say are like your three top struggles, and then what would you say are your three like easy things to do in real estate for Arizona?
Easy thing, network, obviously. My personal network, because that's referrals. Second thing, I mean, if you want to go full time, but then you have to have time management, you got to be there from 8 to 12. You get leads, but then you have to split those leads. So I get a flat broker fee, so it works beneficial for me with the other companies because I'm not that far in based on my history, because I've been around it for so long. So I'm not taking it like serious as someone else would, but it's good to have it because it's knowledge. And once you close the deal, then that's extra monies to a certain degree, yeah. But
Yeah.
I plan on going a little bit more full time with it, but There's a lot of people out there as far as different ways to generate income, like subject twos, like Pace Morby, and a bunch of people like that I know. That's what they do. They've been very successful. I think his portfolio, it's 500 million roughly. So they're aggressive with how they do it. But that's not me. I have other passions too as well.
So besides real estate, what else do you do? Do you have some other side, people call them side hustles. It might not be a side hustle, it might be another, what else do you do?
Like
You have some
another
other entrepreneurial
job,
things that you
yeah,
do, yes?
I print shirts and stuff. I was recently printing for Discount Tire for about 5 years. Still print for them a little bit, but not as much. Kind of fading out of that and becoming more B2B versus retail. So basically scaling that so I can knock 8 hours down to 2 hours, and then I'll go back, probably do a little full time in real estate. But usually, when the market is this high and everyone's happy, you know, and other people make bad choices or life decisions, and so you have these people up here looking down, for some reason it usually goes the other way. Not saying it will, because there's so many people coming from California, but it's
A
interesting.
lot.
A lot. So you got to think how many millionaires are coming here.
Yes.
So it's a tough call. If anything, I would probably buy like owner finance, owner carry land in Sholo, because it's a wave. That's why I'm not saying that, like Bill Gates or China, they're buying the middle to stop the knowledge of people catching on to the flow of things.
Well, speaking of Bill
Like New
Gates,
Mexico should be the one, sorry.
yeah, speaking of Bill Gates,
Yes.
he is building a new city here. He's building a city right up there past, the 10 West heading to LA called Belmont.
Yes.
And he put, 80 million into it so far, it's gonna be a smart city. Have you looked at that area? Do you know what they're building? Have you sold any spec homes? Are they ready to sell yet? Do you know what's going on there?
I looked into it briefly a while back, but it was interesting. 'Cause it's in
Okay.
Tonopah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of out the
Oh.
way. But then I talked to a couple other people that know more knowledge than me, obviously, more internal. So what I've heard, well, hearsay if you heard it, right? Kinda. So I don't know if it's tangible, but
Yeah, like, is
I
it
heard
for
they're
real?
building it
Have
under-
have they started digging dirt? I mean, have they put shovels in the ground yet?
I heard it was underground, but I don't know.
Okay,
So that's why I haven't really, we don't see anything.
yeah, I
We
heard
hear
it was
about the
gonna be,
monies, but we don't see the money
right. He hasn't really spoken about it publicly either. I've seen a lot of interviews
unless it's underground.
with Bill Gates, but he hasn't spoken about that city at all.
Which would be more logical if it was underground.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's hearsay, and I don't do hearsay.
Interesting.
I do hearsay.
Any other tidbits about Arizona that we should know about, like in residential real estate? Any other neat things that are going on in Arizona that people should know about? Like, I want to know about your wisdoms that you know about in Arizona for real estate.
Well, I know they just built a water park over here, I believe, in Chandler, so that's pretty good. So I mean, it's a lot of good things that's coming here. So I would say, like for instance, Coolidge and those types of places, the values have tripled out there as well. So if you're going for long term or short term, that's what the difference. So if you're gonna buy something, say in Coolidge, and you have 10 or 15 years to wait for the value to go back up, because if it fluctuates down, then obviously most of the time it takes about 5 to 10 years for it to go back up. So if you're buying a house, I would go on Zillow and look at the property sale history. And if the house was 100,000 and now it's 500,000, if the market fluctuates, then it's probably gonna go maybe to 2 or 3 if it's really, really bad. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
It does make
Yeah,
sense.
so you wanna kinda prepare yourself for 20 to 30% fluctuation. And
Yeah.
if you're okay with that, because what happened last time in 2009, I did it myself too, you know, your house is 700,000 and it's down to 500 and you start freaking out going, I'm not paying, I'm upside down.
Right.
So that's a poor mentality because everyone starts short selling. I did it too, so I'm not that smart, right? But now looking back, now the house is more good too. So the point is, if you have something, make sure you like it so you can wait out the fluctuations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like a marriage. Sorry.
So I see a lot of signs in a lot of yards, particularly in Old Town where I live close to, and they have the signs whereby I think most of the neighborhoods are all Airbnbs. you can tell too, you
Yeah.
can tell from the front, you can see the lock boxes and so forth.
Of course.
And so I see the signs whereby I believe people are trying to get a law passed where
Yes.
there's not, homes, not hotels. That's,
Correct.
what do you know about that? What can you pass along if you know anything about that? If there's a bill or if there's a Senate bill that's going, forth, that they're trying to disallow it, or are they trying to do anything against it? Do you know anything about that?
Again,
This is a zinger.
yeah, it is.
I thought I was gonna give you
that
the
was-
zingers,
that
now
was-
I'm
yeah.
giving him a zinger.
Yeah, that's,
Mr. Will, real
Yes,
estate guy in
yes,
Arizona
yes.
from 1991.
yes. That's gonna be negative, but I've heard, again, everything
Okay.
is hearsay, so I have people that have Airbnbs, that aren't being rented out, but they are trying to have some law where you can only have, say, like, maybe 20% or 10% in that area versus a whole block.
Correct.
Ah, okay, the producer is verifying that, okay, so
Yes.
he seems to know is there an SB, Senate bill number that you know,
They're
like
working on it.
271, Senate Bill 93?
Don't know the
Senate
numbers.
Bill 222, all right, that's what
Doesn't
it is.
matter.
Right.
We're just
It's
saying
in the
Senate Bill,
legislation.
no, we're just making that
Thank you,
up.
Oz, I appreciate it.
He didn't made up that Senate Bill number, please don't look up that number,
No,
that is
no.
Those are not real.
incorrect.
It's hearsay.
Incorrect,
Hearsay.
No,
all right.
but I mean, some of the guys that I know that, have a lot of properties, they're paying right now because they're not being rented out, which makes no sense, but I think he has about 30 of them, so he's kind of stressing, he's like, yeah, dude, I have to still pay on these houses, and, I thought it was gonna be moving fast, and I'm just like, I'm glad I'm not in that position, and I can't help him, but I just tell him I pray for him.
I have two more questions for
I
you.
mean, if I can have two of them.
Arizona is a big state.
Yes.
What area in particular have you found yourself being able to be the most successful in, like a Chandler, and that you've really been able to nourish because that neighborhood just,
Chandler.
Chandler,
Yeah,
okay,
most of my
okay.
deals have been in the Chandler area, even
Yes.
though I'm at right now, it's Chandler.
It's growing.
And, cause it still has a Gilbert type of feel,
Mhm.
but it's still a little bit closer, to downtown Phoenix, you know where you're going, it's just different. Gilbert is good too, but Gilbert is still far back, to a certain degree, at least in my eyes. Meaning the 10 freeway and Ray and all that stuff, but Chandler's kind of a weird shape. And
Yeah,
Gilbert's like over here, and then Queen Creek's here, and then South Queen Creek. But, I could say this, so I did show a property in Queen Creek, and it was 1.4, but it didn't have any structure. It was just a frame, and it's going to a trust, I had to go to a trustee. But anyway, we were there for about 15 minutes, and my client lived around the corner, so I went and dropped her off. And then when I came back, there was a cop there, across the street. I just kept driving, not a negative person, but I thought about it. So then my client took her kids back about 4 minutes later and pulled in, and then the cop pulled in behind her, and she's like, let me guess. And somebody had called and said that it was black guy, still a car.
In this joint.
And I had my windows down, and I was by myself, and I had on a shirt. But it's not a negative thing, it's just, as a realtor, you just kind of maneuver through it. But luckily I was calm, but she said that he pulled up and told her, yeah, we got a call. And she's like, let me guess, a black guy? And he's like, yeah. So it's still there.
right,
Yeah. So that's why I said
yeah,
but it's not personal. You get what I mean? It's just, it's different cities.
sure,
So
yes,
can't take it personal.
Yeah,
Especially being tenured for as long as I
I
have.
know,
Yeah.
gosh,
And my age.
yeah,
Yeah,
gosh.
almost half a century.
Well, my second question,
Yes, of
we
course.
talked a little.
Sorry, I didn't know the dark area that happened.
Sure,
When
no,
we start
I
saying
mean,
Chandler
absolutely
Creek,
put it out
yeah.
there,
Yeah, absolutely.
for the viewers and for
Right.
everybody to hear that comment, for
Absolutely.
sure. The second question was, a little bit earlier, we were talking about tribal nations
Of course.
and I think you work in your real estate, you do
Yeah.
work with some indigenous families
Of course.
and on real estate,
Yes.
is that true? Have you focused with them and have some special plans for them with real estate?
It's a little tricky right now. I'm in conversations with some of them.
Okay.
We're just trying to figure out what direction. Like I've heard a couple people here too, like their own tokenomics. So they're moving in an interesting direction, right? But to answer your question, it's tough because we have a lot of different things coming out with the president and all that stuff as far as grants and so.
And ungrants, let's say
Correct,
it,
correct,
some ungrants being
correct.
taken away.
Correct.
And the draft plan for
Right.
the 2026 budget for the indigenous communities have come out, and I've read some of the draft, and I'm a little displeased.
Right.
But anyway, we don't need to be talking about that
Correct.
right now,
Correct.
but
Correct.
no, it's a big deal,
It's
and,
there.
you know, sure, yeah, okay. So I did want to ask if you did work with them on real estate transactions.
Yeah, not
Okay.
right now. We're trying to figure out how that's gonna present itself, you know, because that could be horrible.
Well, let's let the viewers know how they can reach you. You're an awesome real estate guy. You've
Thank you.
definitely been in the Arizona market for a long time. You know the area, and you know, being in real estate for over 30 years, that's a long time. You know, you've got it nailed down here in Arizona, and you know what's going on. So if you want to let the viewers know how they can reach you.
Fair enough. William Pride, you can reach me at william@prideandrealestate.com. So William at Pride and Real Estate. See, I played my last name and then .com.
Of course, absolutely. I get it all the way.
Okay.
Well, this is so terrific that you jumped on with us today. I so
No,
appreciate
thank
that
you,
you got
guys.
on the show with us.
I appreciate it.
And we'd love to have you back, for
Absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
So we're going to get on with the party, and thanks everybody. Thanks our viewers. Tina Tasaka, Cannabis X America.
And cut. All right, good job.
Good work, good work.
Of course. We
Will,
always want
Will,
to be
let's
freestyle.
freestyle some real estate. You and
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah.
He's the real
We're gonna
estate
talk
guy.
about, people think it's time to invest,
Yeah.
how they should.
Okay, got you.
He needs to
Let's
practice
talk
his
about the
interviews
how.
more,
Fair
so
enough.
now Eric's
Do
gonna
you
do some
need it?
interviews.
Should you
Ooh,
use your
okay.
own money? Should you use other
Yes.
people's money?
Right,
Should you go to friends that
Okay.
family, right?
Right.
And I wanna
Yes,
say that
beautiful.
they're gonna see a lot of the foreclosure angle
Right.
coming back.
Correct.
It's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And either you're prepared for it or not.
Right.
And we know that hedge funds are gonna come rolling back in. Yeah. We're gonna have fun with it though,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Can I come over here real quickly before you?
Yeah. And I'm doing this one on Lotus Broadcast,
Excellent.
since we won't have a lead angle to it. Three, two. Hello everyone, I'm Eric Williamson with the Lotus Broadcast. I'm normally behind the camera, but right now you're gonna see me in front of the camera. Here I have Will. Will, please introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm William Pride. I'm also a realtor, and if you want to contact me, it's William at Pride and Real Estate. I've been in Arizona for about 15 years. Been in the business since 1991, 92.
Great, Will. Well, Will and I met at a Diamond Nexus event, and it's fantastic. And we're at the location, and we were doing another project, and I said, Will, let's take this to the next level. Now, here's the beautiful part. We're both residential real estate agents in Arizona. And what we're gonna do is chop it up a little bit, you know, not too heavy, but we want to give you guys something that is a problem or around the corner, that kind of thing. Now, we've seen all the tariffs come in, right?
Of course.
And we've seen a lot of volatility in the market.
Of course.
So people are looking at the market going,
Which way do I go?
up, down,
Yeah.
left, right,
Right.
okay?
Correct.
And then the second thing they look at is the value of their home,
Correct.
okay? And they see that in some parts of the region,
Right.
there's a problem,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
In other words, prices were here,
Yeah.
they're starting to dip.
Slowly starting to take prices off to repopulate it on Zillow.
Right,
That's usually a 500 fluctuation.
right.
Now it's 20,000, 30,000,
Sure,
10,000,
sure.
so it's like kind of all over the place.
Correct. So it's hard to find what the numbers are. So
Right.
you have to be careful and serious about getting a licensed professional to help you understand what the history was. You can't just go to one website, Zillow, and then figure out like, oh, I understand the market.
Right.
That is not true,
Correct.
okay? And as professionals, anything that we say to you is not legal advice. This is for educational purposes only. But at the end of the day, we know what we're talking about.
8%.
Sure.
To a certain degree.
You have a long history in
Yeah.
real estate.
Yes.
I have a kind of a shorter situation, but at the end of the day, we're active, we're involved.
Correct.
I'm a very part-timer. I do a lead generation angle to
Right.
real estate, and you
Network,
network.
because of the years.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
and people, for instance, from California, obviously.
So let's jump to that.
Yes.
You brought up a good point.
Okay.
All right, so we see a lot of migration. We are Maricopa County is the #1 fastest growing county in the country. County. Now, we're that big and we grow that fast. With that knowledge, people are always asking me, well, what's the best part of the county?
Right.
And I say we are in migration mode right now. A lot of people are coming into our communities and they have money.
Correct.
And where do you think they're coming from?
Unfortunately, it would be coming from California, where I came from. I just came a little bit earlier.
Well, if they're coming from California, they are on paper millionaires.
Correct.
Okay? They sold their property, they had it for a gazillion years.
Correct. And then the people here that are retaining or getting that appreciation value, they're moving up north.
Okay.
So that's why Payson now is so expensive.
So we have a migration from Cali.
Correct.
And a migration in our state,
Correct.
north. We
With
don't know where Payson is,
Correct.
it is up north-ish.
45, 50 minutes roughly.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I like Payson actually.
Payson is cool.
I love Payson. I wanted to get something up there, but now they're kind of.
Now, if you'd like to move to Payson, contact one of us.
Absolutely.
And we'll help you with a local agent.
Yes.
Right.
Because
Because that's a long drive to go all the way.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We can tell them right now.
Literally.
You can drive.
I'm not driving.
Okay, I'm gonna. And then,
We'll figure it out.
And then the lower end of people that are here that miss the wage,
Yes,
so they're going to Coolidge.
yeah.
That's what's going on.
Okay, so let's explain migration.
Okay.
Migration paths are really straightforward. It's all about the location. I'm sorry to say it, but it's all about location.
Location, 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 location.
Anyone that is familiar with Maricopa County used to say, oh, way out west
Correct.
used to be Avondale, Litchfield
I
Park,
remember.
right? That was way out there.
Yeah.
And then from that, it jumped to Coolidge.
Yes.
There's another spot that it jumped
One
to.
more, I forgot. Grand something, come on. It's not Coolidge, it's,
Casa Grande?
Casa Grande.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's out there too.
Correct,
Okay, little drive.
correct,
You're okay, fuel efficient vehicle.
correct. The only mistake I made, if you're gonna buy something in a desolate area, right, what you would wanna do is look at the 10-year plan.
Yes.
Because if I would've done that with Avondale, my child's mom, she got 100 houses in Avondale in 2005 because it was only $1,000 down.
Right.
They had a Nina, no income, no asset, which
Yeah.
had 800.
Credit products were great.
Kind
No
of.
assets.
We used to call it, yeah, that was a good one, but the 800 credit score is what made it make sense.
Okay.
But then the stated loans is what crashed the market. We used to
Yeah.
call them
Liar loans.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Did you hear that? Liar loans.
Yes, yes, yes.
I did mortgages like you.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
yes.
Hit the
Yeah, that's
subscribe
why-
came from
button right
mortgages.
now.
Correct,
Subscribe,
that's why we're
subscribe,
on
subscribe.
the real estate side,
Right.
because we've been in it for so
Right.
long.
And I am playing in the commercial lending
Okay.
side now.
Got you.
Okay.
Well, the thing there is that, my personal opinion, if you're gonna go anywhere, just get the 10-year plan, because I would have done that for Avondale. It was a two-way highway, four lane, whatever the case
Yeah.
was. It was horrible.
It was terrible.
It was horrible. And then
Right.
Buckeye.
Yes,
I
I moved to Buckeye when I
Okay.
first got here.
Good, because the houses there were like 150,000.
Oh, they were cheap. When I say cheap, you're going
Yeah,
like, wait,
6,000 square
wait,
feet.
I came from Chicago.
Yes.
What's that? Is that $1,500 a month? No, they're like, that's the tax bill
Correct.
for
That's
the year.
And that's the other flip side to the property values appreciating. The taxes are also gonna appreciate
Right.
as well. But
Right.
I don't think there's gonna be a crash, but. if
Okay,
you-
we're gonna differ.
Yeah, I don't wanna say that and scare people, but.
No, we're not scaring you.
Yeah.
When we say crash, there's gonna be a significant decline.
Correct, correct.
Okay, that's a different name, crash.
Okay,
Crash.
okay.
Significant decline.
Okay.
Okay, and now I'm gonna bring to you why I feel it's a significant
Okay.
decline.
Is it tomato or tomato, or this has value?
Tomato, tomato.
Okay.
Okay? You know what that means, folks?
I-
It's Eric's opinion only.
Okay, fine. Fair enough,
Okay.
fair enough.
But the trend, I'm going with trendy, you know?
Right.
Like people could say bell bottoms are gonna come back.
My mom said it, yeah, she said, everything goes around.
It does go around,
So
right?
stop talking so
Classical
much.
music is gonna come back,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
EDM, hip hop,
Correct.
old school, it's all coming back.
Correct.
Okay.
Remix.
Right, so let's think about this in our market. The influx of individuals who come
Okay.
from California,
Yes.
we have a location issue in our Maricopa. Because we rely on developers to
Right.
create the new levels of infrastructure.
To develop.
Yes.
Okay.
If the cities are not broke and can't develop,
Right.
they're not gonna attract developers.
Correct.
Because they're gonna go like, oh, commercial next to that, I can't have a master community like that. We had that before.
Right.
Let's look at Buckeye.
Right.
Let's look at,
Queen Creek.
Casa Grande.
Queen Creek did it.
Yeah. But Casa Grande, like those are the places right now where you can still find something for 200.
Yeah.
Like, and it has a possibility of going to 500 after.
But it may be next to a park, mobile park.
Correct. That's
Because the location,
Yes,
now
yes.
I'm expressing the
I
difference
got it,
too.
I got it.
These locations are not built like master communities.
Right.
And the developer
Correct.
goes, why should I go there?
correct. But there's no choice because there's demand.
Land. Demand in the land, right?
Correct.
Okay, let's talk about Whitman. What do you think?
I went there a long time ago. I gotta call her too. I went there and it was a good town.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But it's up north.
Yeah?
And they wanted to. I was gonna take pictures of the land, but it was a church and had a tree in the front, and so I kept driving because
Could Whitman be Buckeye?
I see where you're going with that. You just went past my joke, but it was
Okay, sorry.
It was okay because I don't think anyone's gonna get it. But tough call. I think the weather's good. What's the top max? That's what I look at. How hot is it gonna get? Like
It's
they
gonna
seem
stay
to
the same.
95.
It'll
So
stay
never
the
get
same.
past triple digits.
No. Well, it's just as hot. Whitman is just as hot.
Again, we would have to look at what the future develops. Is there gonna be another freeway that's gonna connect it? Like Casa Grande, they're probably gonna have another freeway that's gonna
The
be.
only thing that saved Buckeye was
Okay.
I-10.
Right,
Am I right?
of course.
That
100%.
infrastructure that drove right through it,
Of course.
they said.
And then the
trucks
202
on.
looped everyone around.
It did.
And that's what made it.
I feel
spot.
Whitman is not gonna be the spot because
can't
of
see- yes.
traffic and infrastructure.
Correct,
There's only one road that goes up to Whitman.
unless there's a train.
And train,
Well, that can shoot, like if I worked in Whitman, or say I worked in downtown Phoenix, because how far is that away? 2 hours?
what, Whitman?
Yeah.
About an hour and a half.
Okay, so then,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm on the West Valley, so I'm going from that.
got it. But how long would a train take to get there? If hypothetical,
I don't think they could build it.
why?
It's federal. It'll take 40 years or something like that.
40 years?
Look at how long it took to get the 202 with
Right.
reservation.
Got it. Okay. Apparently you know it. Well, if you have kids, then your great grandkid
Couldn't enjoy Whitman.
can enjoy Whitman and how powerful your brain
Okay.
was with insight.
So remember we said we're gonna bring it about in investment.
Of course.
Okay? We're not telling you that this is educational purposes only.
Right.
Okay? I feel that the key to investment today,
Okay.
with the decline, we're gonna see that people are gonna have bad situations
Okay.
and they're gonna need solutions.
Correct.
Okay? Here's the problem. You're gonna have equity in your house,
Right.
and you're gonna try to sell it.
Right.
You're gonna try to sell it for the most money. And they won't be able to be successful because their house is not updated.
Modern.
Yes.
Okay.
And statistically, modern buyers want fixed up properties.
150. Yeah, I have that problem all the time because they call me back and go, it's not, it's outdated, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
everything's negotiable.
right.
And there may be some wiggle room in there because that's part of the negotiation, but it's really outdated.
It's outdated.
And I showed another client a home last weekend, and it was because it was 800,000, and you know, we
And that could
didn't
be
have much-
outdated too, everyone.
Well, here's the thing: people think they're buying an $800,000 house. When we first walked in, 5 foot in is you have your stairway. So I told her.
8 stairs, right?
Correct. So I told her you gotta understand, you're not buying an $800,000 house. You're buying a $100,000 house from 2005 that was sold for 200.
Right.
So if you're gonna buy anything those would be the first houses that'll drop probably more because of feng shui.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So if
Right.
you're gonna buy something for 800, just make sure it's like open, maybe a foyer or something,
Right.
something that'll maintain.
Modern.
Okay.
It has to be modern.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if we don't have enough modern product
Right.
and people are transferring in, Houston, we have a problem. And I'm gonna say the best method of investment today is you find the money,
Okay.
you find the seller who's distressed, you come to real estate professionals that say, I want to see DOM, days on market,
Correct.
over 120 days.
Correct.
We give you a list, and now we start working from that list to do one thing. We want to go to the sellers and say, we can make an offer, or we can do a buy flip,
Yes,
okay?
of course.
Flip this way. If we help them find sellers
Okay.
that just don't fit our criteria for profit,
Okay.
for I can't pay everything because I'm upside down,
Got you.
okay?
Of course.
We could be your arms to say, we want to go into those sellers and say, we will together fix your house and flip it.
Right, of course. I actually
And
did
they-
something like that a while back, but I never followed through, so that's
Sure,
interesting you saying that.
Sure,
It was called Let's Flip Together.
let's flip
I
together.
think I still did .com. I don't
Okay,
remember, but that
okay.
was the basis of it.
You want to explain your half of it and I'll explain my half.
My half from back then
Yeah.
was basically with what you were saying. I was going to partner with different contractors to a certain degree, not
Right.
too far in, but semi-modern, not a $200,000 mark, modern.
Right.
And then we gave them a title.
Right,
You get what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Because a lot of builders, sometimes they have excess stuff that's left over from like Open Door.
Right.
Because they take out brand new appliances, where do those appliances go? They usually go to the local auction.com or something.
right,
So if you can partner with them, like Granite, I have a bunch of Granite guys, right?
Right.
So they have extra slabs.
Right.
So if you can maneuver something with them where it's still top quality,
right,
obviously, and then have them put it into the contract that when the house is sold, I mean, everything's a gamble.
okay,
You know, that's why you only go $100,000 project, but
right,
if it's 10,000 technically for them, then we know the fixed cost is a little bit lower because of the
Okay.
Keystone effect, right?
right,
So we're not gonna be too far in, and then your buyer, they don't get foreclosure, obviously.
correct. That's the most
So
important.
they live to fight again.
Correct. And those of you that are struggling today, you need to call us. You do not want to get a foreclosure.
Correct,
Ever, ever, never.
correct. There's ways to make it fit, as long as everyone's working on the same page. Meaning, you can also do, a lease option, a 2-year or a 3-year.
That's after you come out.
Correct,
Right.
correct. And if we don't contractually perform in 2 years, then technically you get the house back.
Right,
So there's a benefit possibly for both
Correct,
sides.
correct.
But the benefit for us obviously would be to get some sort of monies for our work, right?
correct,
And save them from having a foreclosure, because
Yeah.
sometimes people go through divorce or they
Right.
lose their job, things
Correct.
happen, right? So it gives you an opportunity to redeem yourself later on.
Correct.
And not have that on your credit.
correct.
And then here's the best part, so say if you.
You're throwing bars right now. That's
Yeah,
good.
you're supposed to, if you're gonna, not target, that's a bad word, but you could pull, homes from, say, 2021.
Right.
Because the property values at that time were only 300,000, now they're 500,000. So you would negotiate the deal saying, hey, I'll buy this house from you in 2 years, for, I said 500,000, they got it for 250, say, 350,000. Or
Three and a
three.
quarter.
Yeah, I like 350, he said 3.
Three and a
But
quarter.
I'm good, yes, of course.
Good negotiation. We're done.
Correct. So it's a win-win for everyone, because if you don't perform, obviously they get the house back, but if you do perform, then you have that 100 grand. A lot of people out there that I know, they do it a little bit different, not telling their secrets or anything, but that's what they do. They look for homes that, 2%, 3%,
Yeah.
that are in pre-foreclosure.
Correct.
And they
Now,
pull them up, yeah.
we're
That's
gonna
your
dive.
information?
No, let's dive into that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
You have a 3% loan,
correct,
and what he's explaining is you can keep the 3% loan
correct,
and do a wraparound mortgage where you leave the property, a new buyer comes in and says, hey, in a certain amount of time, you're gonna buy me out,
correct.
okay? Now, you could, in perpetuity, keep the property and you become the bank with this wraparound mortgage, because
It's real technical, so you may want to have an
Okay.
attorney look at it, but you're
Advise an
absolutely,
attorney.
you're
Attorney advise.
absolutely, say that, right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, but the only, that every mortgage has an acceleration clause.
yeah,
So
if it's
that's
caught,
it. Correct.
if it's caught.
So that's
Just like they have speeding laws and if
Correct.
you get caught.
correct. So the best way to do it is under lease option, because that's totally legal, right? To a certain degree. It's
Yeah, but they're
100%.
not entitled.
Correct. That's where it gets weird at. That's
But,
where-
but we could file title
correct.
and then don't execute it.
Right. Right. See, that's when it starts going down that weird trail.
But we're back to, will it accelerate? And in title, you don't own it.
Correct. No, I mean, that's what everyone's doing right now. There's a lot of multi-millionaires that I know personally, that's what they've been doing for the last 5 years.
Right.
You know, but they have it, I mean, let's be honest, right? Most things happen because people come up with an idea, they go pay $20,000 to give it to an attorney, and they say, can you legally do this? And the attorney looks to see what the laws are.
Right.
And there's a loophole.
Yes.
So those people that are like that get rich.
Right.
And then by the time it comes down to other people, then it's legal.
Yeah.
Or there's something weird. So
They
so you have to
pull it
say,
out.
yeah, that's why
That's
they
wrong.
say, show me your 5 friends, I'll show you your network.
Correct.
You see, so if you got
Right.
5 millionaires, they're going to continue to be a millionaire because they have the ability to look at insight of
Right.
those, no matter what it is, you know.
But we may be encouraging some new entrepreneurs
Well, yeah,
that will
no,
take this
it's-
idea and
oh,
go, let me figure out how to
absolutely.
make it
Well,
legit.
well, that's why I say that, not to scare them, but just know, you know, you always want to contact an attorney or
Yeah.
something, so that way everything's across the board.
Legit.
Legit.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, last thing and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
I hope you've enjoyed what we've said so far. Again, how do they get in touch with you?
William Pride, email is william@pride, Pride, like pride and joy, NIN, realestate.com.
Perfect.
And I'm a
Perfect.
good negotiator.
He's great.
Yeah.
You should use him. Okay?
That's my dress shirt somewhere else.
And all of you real estate professionals,
Yes.
you need to reach out to me because you need help with media, advertising, promotion, and marketing. 480-878-1919. Link is in the below, in the description.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we're gonna close out.
Okay.
What would you tell your younger person from now to the younger self of you back?
Wow.
What would you tell them?
Okay, well, that's weird. First of all, I guess I would have to give the little guy a hug and tell him it's gonna be okay.
You went in Back to the Future, you transported, and now.
Back to my younger self.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to hug him.
You gotta hug him.
And just tell him, hey, you gotta follow me on this, because
How do I look?
how do I look? I'm not taking care of myself, you know, what do you think? Am I doing a good job with us?
Right.
But no,
Your eyes are gonna be.
yeah, honestly, I mean, I can say blessing on your favor, but when you look back, I see where my higher power, God, you know, kind of, it's people that are around you that you don't pay attention to. So if I was younger again, I would pay more attention, meaning, you know, I had twins back then, I was going through divorce, and paying like $2,500 a month in child support at in 91,
Oh,
92.
yeah, I was up there.
Okay, yeah, and the judge was like, is this right? Because the other guy before me was like 175, $100, I'm like 20, 21, 22, 25, I was at 33,000 by March, so they obviously, you know, but with that being said, I met 2 guys. I told this guy at Bank of America because I was a financial relationship manager, remember that, the FRM,
Yeah.
HELOCs,
Yeah.
I did all that.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to get my Series 7.
Oh, you
but I got
were?
the Series 63, or so it was 63?
63.
63, I comprehended it real good, but you see where I'm going with this? So there's one guy outside and he's like, hey man, you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Kiyosaki.
I didn't read it,
Uh-oh.
you see, because I had the child support and my brain was a little
How to
off.
catch the cheese.
Correct, so, and then the second thing, my buddy James Conroy, he's a good dude, so he's the one that got me in it.
Okay.
And I put all my friends in, there's probably about 50 of them that are way more successful. I'm the guy that tells people how to be successful.
Yeah.
Because my brain is big enough to understand that 7 years or 100 years here personally is not really that long.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you gotta kind of keep your balance because you can get everything you want, but for what?
Right.
A lot of people do a lot of different things to get it, and then your kids completely waste it.
Sure.
So then you just had an interesting life for nothing.
Right.
So you see, so you gotta be careful with that. But I say that to say this. He told me, he goes, well, how much money do you want to make? And I said, what? But first of all, I was kicking butt. Like, he used to come in, he had a Mercedes, and he's singing Snoop Dogg. He used to come in like, what's up? But I had all my friends from LA working there, and I was like, Jim, you can't talk to these guys like that. And he's like, what?
Let's school you, Jim.
Yeah, because he was like, what's up? You know, with the B word and stuff, and everybody's like, hey, man, you know. But then they heard me on the phone, and they're like, why do you talk like that? I'm like, talk like what? I talk like I got some sense, right? So we made him very successful. But he told me, he goes, you know, how much money do you want to make? And I said, I don't know. He goes, well, you want to make 10 grand a month? I said, yeah. He goes, well, get 10 houses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may make a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there. He said, I guarantee you in 20 to 30 years, they're going to be worth either 500,000 or $1 million. And I wasn't listening. And now when I look back, I'm like, ah. So I see the system.
Yeah.
And so now technically everyone's supposed to get out of Arizona and move to New Mexico because we're missing the boat.
Right.
But then Bill Gates in China's like, let's stop this right here. We're going to buy the middle.
Yeah.
And we're going to grow some some food that we're gonna
Right.
feed them. But that's
And they will be successful in that, in growing food.
okay, what, good food or,
No. It will be looking good.
okay, looking good, okay,
Yeah, it'll be
aesthetically
looking
looking,
good.
what
Aesthetically.
about your stomach?
No, they don't care.
Okay, fine.
Right. But we don't make our own food.
I grew up on a farm, like 80 acres, we clearly made our own food.
I didn't mean it like that.
Okay.
I meant as a society, we don't care what the food is, so we don't make it. We let companies, corporations put additives into the food, and we don't care.
Got it.
So we don't make the food. You
Got
understand?
it.
We have growers that give it to someone else that manipulates the food, and Bill and his team want to be in the manipulation game,
Got you.
okay?
Got you.
You're looking at me sideways.
Well, no, those are big guys. I don't like big guys. Yeah, I have nothing to say about.
Okay, so
Big
let me
guys.
participate. Let me
Yes.
participate. What I would tell my younger self.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn.
Okay.
All right?
No, I'm saying, you talk about it. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Okay, fine.
Okay? So if I was with my younger self,
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
with my younger self, I would say, younger self, you need to hang out with the right people. Because you are who you hang out with.
Of course.
Okay? And that will translate to what you said. Invest in real estate as young as you can.
Right.
I'm the guy that later in life bought one of those online
Courses.
online courses, sat on it, then finally read it 3 years later,
Right.
and then executed 2 years after that. I bought a house
Okay.
on paper,
Right.
seller financing, with the option to buy,
Okay.
just like you described.
Yep.
And let me tell you this, when the seller first observed my number,
Okay.
that I said, I'll pay you this in a few years.
Right.
He was like, huh, yes, we got a deal. When I was at the closing table, he was like, oh my God, you took advantage.
Were you a realtor?
Yeah, no.
Okay, good.
I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't licensed.
Okay.
But he says, if I wouldn't have done this deal, I'm giving you all that value.
Right.
The housing market moved.
Right.
He wasn't forward thinking around the corner,
Of course.
and I gambled and I won.
A good gamble?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
But that's the business.
But I bought the house in 2 years, in the option time, in 2 years.
Right, when the contractual agreement.
Right. And I will tell you, my lender was like, you're getting, this is the house we're buying
Yes.
at this price? And I said, yep, it's already contracted.
Okay.
And I live in it.
Was he under duress or anything, or
No,
he
he was agreed.
So
So
did he buy it a long time ago though for like 50, 60,000?
probably.
Okay.
So he was like, this is gonna, I'm good, this is gonna be
Some
great.
people like that, and it was older, younger.
There's an older guy.
But I'm saying, if they got it for 50, then in his head, probably just threw a number out there without doing research to a certain degree, but it was comfortable with him, which
Correct.
makes it legal.
Yeah,
Right? 'Cause
I
he didn't do
mean,
his own-
he didn't reject it, and then I had to
Right,
sue
he
him or
wasn't
anything.
drunk or anything like
No.
that, like you guys were talking about
No,
people.
no.
Okay, so.
He got his rent on time, he was happy with
Yes,
everything, and I
yes.
said, hey, in 4 months, I'm gonna buy it. And he's like, okay.
Right,
Oh, yeah, we gotta pull out that paper, like you.
right, but if I bought something for 50,000, just use that as a round number, in 1970, 60, early 80s, whatever, and then some guy called me up and said, hey, I wanna buy your house, I'm gonna make a big guess, because for me, it's like I won some type of lotto, right? So I'm gonna
Right.
say 300,000. So, but I'm comfortable with that. Now, if it was worth 500, I might
Yeah.
beat myself in the head a little bit, but I
Right.
still have 300. And that's another thing, if you're contracting any types of deals, make sure your client is not under duress or any type of thing, because those contracts are null and void.
We're sharing now. What I did with the deal was, I took the ugliest house that was on the block, went to the owner and said, hey, I'd like to rent it from
Oh, yeah.
you. And I gave him the price on paper, what it would be, all tricked out, finished and everything.
After repair value.
Yeah, this is not, look.
Oh, you showed
and
him
then
that?
No,
Okay.
I told him,
Yeah.
this is how I calculated
Of
it.
course.
And I'm gonna give you $20,000 more
Got it.
to accept my agreement now.
Right, absolutely.
And he goes, okay.
Well, again, it's a distressed property, right?
Yeah, it
So,
was.
so how can you dictate the value on that, because you haven't done any work? So, you get what I'm trying to
Well,
say?
that was how I was placating to him.
Right,
If I'm just an eternal renter, you have nothing to lose.
Correct. I got it. So I know that's a good.
So the point is, there's education out there. You just have to execute and make the best out of what is lemons to lemonade.
Correct. And search YouTube. I mean, I'm always on there looking at even with the tests and stuff like that. Like I have real estate for dummies. You know, I'm always staying current.
Exactly.
Just
you need to do that.
Yeah.
And one more thing I would tell my younger self: get into real estate now. Don't wait later.
Right now, I should have been a realtor then.
A long
I
time.
was a loan originator. I was still making probably $7-8 grand a deal back then.
Oh yeah.
So it was, doing 2 or 4, $3 a month, hence the child support.
Right.
I tell my younger self to not. Well, I can't say it because I love my kids. But if I whispered, maybe be like, don't, just wait. They may not look the same, but it's kind of the same.
Right.
So you just gotta be careful and watch. Watch what you do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed what we did together, Will and I. We'll do it again sometime, right?
Absolutely.
This was fun for me, fun for Will, right?
Absolutely.
Again, how do they get in touch with you?
William, Pride, you can email me at william@prideinrealestate.com, like pride and joy, so prideinrealestate.com.
Okay, link will be below. And if you're a licensed professional and you need help with marketing, promotion, advertising, and media, I'm your connect, I'm your plug, 480-878-1919. Will, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, that's it for the Lotus broadcast. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Let's go.
That was great, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
I think you need a series.
I know that was fun.
I think you need a
It's freestyle,
series.
too. I was sure. Yeah.
I think you guys need a series on that. That was some good chatter. Yeah. People want to hear.
Yeah.
People want to really tune into that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
I
a
know,
ton of.
I do. I do.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
when I was looking at other people, I'm
Absolutely.
like, just tell me how you feel. Like,
Right. Well, I took I have a 55-inch TV from my computer, which because I'm like when I say I'm in the TV, I'm literally that's what it is. Like I'm always. That's what I do. I really don't come out. You get what I'm trying to say?
right, if you're by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If in this setting,
Right.
you were natural.
Thank you.
Well, both of you,
Make sure
you
you send
guys-
that compliment so we have it.
Make sure you
Well,
subscribe
you guys
right
have
now.
really good
Share the
chemistry.
stream.
Yeah.
Hit the like button.
You guys-
Subscribe. Sign up to MickyMann.com.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You guys have the same.
See, we could see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're so
We
like-minded.
bounce off. Yeah.
You guys have done so much of the same thing, and.